This week's parasha is Parsha Bon. It talks about the plague of locusts, and it says there, "V'lo notar kol etz ve'esev b'kol eretz Mitzrayim." There didn't remain one bit of greenery in the entire Eretz Mitzrayim, and we have to understand what this means. Now, Mitzrayim at the time was a lowly kingdom before Yosef came along. It was a nothing. Then Yosef created this amazing thing because it was the only country left with any food. Everywhere else had no food, but Mitzrayim had food for 7 years. And because of that, they became this giant superpower. And now what happens in this week's parasha is they get reduced back to where they came from. They get reduced to the only country, by the way. Everywhere else had food. V'lo notar b'kol eretz Mitzrayim. Only in Egypt there was no more greenery left. And it became bankrupt. Now you have to understand, even after Makot Bechorot, even after the firstborn plague, they had no food. Everything had been eaten by the locusts. There was nothing to eat. Even when the Jews left, they starved that year. They became a lowly kingdom and never to rise up and become great again, ever in history. This draws massive parallels with nowadays. America was a lowly kingdom. It was the Revolutionary War was funded by Solomon Mayer, who funded George Washington, and it became a medium kingdom. And then what happened? You had the British Empire, which was at its peak in the 1920s. They did the Balfour Declaration. They helped Jews. Funnily, their peak coincided when they helped the Jews. And then they've switched in the 1930s to become Arabists. The second they did that, within 10 years, the entire British Empire, the world's biggest empire in history, collapsed. That is the same that will happen with America. It's been supporting Israel. It supported Israel until this disgusting administration with the Gaza border peace with Qatar and Turkey on it. And now with Egyptian soldiers in Kiryat Gat, in Israel, watching the IDF. I swear this guy has done it. This is what's happening right now. So we have a disgusting empire, the US empire, going around all around the world being brazen, taking over Greenland because they think they should, going to Venezuela, stealing that. Well, a brazen, disgusting empire, like the Egyptians, thinking they're a world superpower. And just like them, what will happen to Egypt will happen to them. That they think they're big, they will the same thing that brought them up, which was there was famine everywhere else and we had food, was the same thing that collapsed them, which was everywhere else had food and they didn't have food. And it is the same thing with America. It will happen to them, the same thing, the wealth and all this money that came up. Well, we're already seeing in the gold and silver markets that we're seeing that the US dollar, which is the source of America's privilege, is collapsing. And so it should do. You want to turn on the Jews, you will be collapsed by exactly the same thing that caused you to be